Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to review something a little bit different. I don't know how many of you have seen these around, but within the flow arts community, these Bitwhips have been making the rounds for the last few years. Now I'm going to have a good quality Bitwhip from a company that's pretty local to me coming in sometime next year. But in the meantime, I figured just to do an intro to the Bitwhip market, I'd go out and I'd get one of the cheapos that are hanging around on Wish. So a Bitwhip like this runs you about $30, something like that. Whereas a good one will run you 100, something, or about the same as a lightsaber. You can actually get these fiber optic attachments for a typical lightsaber as well, if you want to do a Bitwhip with one of those. But what makes it a Bitwhip as opposed to a rope whip? A while back, Saberforge sold one that was one single side diffused fiber optic cable. The Bitwhip is a bunch of fiber optic cables of varying length. You see them sort of falling off along the side there for that ragged look. Now, when you light this up, this is what you get. All right. Now, Bitwhips as a flow tool are a little bit different from lightsabers. This is a display piece or a flow tool. It's not a combat tool. These things are not made for whip cracks. You can get a few whip cracks out of it, but it's not really made for whip cracks. It's made for flow. It's made for making contact with the bit or with the blade itself. You can actually hold it by the blade, by the whip, and you can do rope dart moves while swinging the handle. But a standard Bitwhip, what you're looking at is a bunch of fiber optic cables running the length of the whip, powered by an RGB flashlight on the other end. So that's all this is. It's kind of a fun little toy. I like this. The cheapo ones, though, definitely there's a reason that they're cheap. The first day that I took this thing out and started practicing with it, I lost about half a dozen of these little fiber optic bristles. They just detached at the bottom and then slid out. So the better quality ones, that happens less, but it's still going to happen. You're still going to lose them. The interesting thing about the Bitwhips is, in order to sort of prevent that, what they've done, I don't know how well I can show you this. I think this is actually going to disconnect the bullet, or there we go. Okay. No, it's not going to let me unscrew that. This is on a ball bearing, though. So the top right here spins. This is to keep the whip from binding while you're using it. It's basically, though, in terms of an RGB flashlight, what you have is you have a power button on the end. This thing takes AAA batteries. Some of the nicer ones have rechargeable lithium ion, but this one takes AAA batteries. You got a power button on the end. You got a mode button on the side, and the mode button switches the color. One of these, I think, is a color cycle mode. There we go. There's a color cycle mode. And a color fade mode. And then back to the standard. Alright, so if you're used to RGB options or low-tech RGB options, that's about what this thing has. Just like a T-light, an RGB T-light, you've got different single color modes, and then you've got strobe and fade modes. So that's basically what this has, and it runs through this fiber optic whip. Kind of fun toys for a cosplay application. If you're doing something like there's a character in Legends, I think it's Lumia or something like that that has one of these. So this isn't necessarily non-Star Wars. There's precedent for this within the Star Wars community. But as a flow tool, as a fun little thing to carry around, this is what a Bitwhip is. Like I said, I'll be showing you a better quality one later down the road, but if you just want an entry level, Wish, $30. This is what you end up with. Fun to play with, don't expect it to be particularly durable, it will fall apart, but hey, you only put $30 into it, and the flashlight portion is pretty durable, so worst case scenario, you get some more fiber optics, and I think they might actually sell the replacement whip itself, so that you could just unscrew it, pop it in, pop it out, and then just replenish it. So consider this to be a consumable. Interesting thing. Hopefully this has been of use to you. Like I said, I will be looking at that better quality one later down the road, and I'll see you back for more.